Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for our wonderful moderator and the panelists for this morning. Just a quick announcement. Moderators and panelists may I request you to kindly look behind and may I request you to kindly be seated as per your name and your pictures that are displayed on the screen. So it's a lot more easy. With that being said, our moderator, Anupam, over to you.
Thank you very much. So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this very topical and relevant session on the next frontiers of AI in the BFSI sector. Sir Stephen Hawkins once said that AI is likely to be the best or the worst gift to the humanity. Now, sure enough, it has transformed the BFSI sector in unparalleled and unprecedented ways. And many of the use cases which are currently making life simpler and efficient for the customer and the financial entities were mentioned in the previous keynote address, so I will not repeat it. And now, with the multi-trillion dollar investments, AI is fast transitioning into an existential transformation, and it is poised to become the very nervous system of the financial sector in India, both driving strategic decision making and critical business outcomes. But then it is a double-edged sword, as we have talked about the risks, the threats, and the vulnerabilities in the past since morning. So now today the question is not whether AI should be adopted. As we all know, it is inescapable. But the question is, how do we adopt it and integrate it in a secure and responsible manner and govern it intelligently to ensure that it comes for the public good and not for the devastation as some sections of the society think that it would bring. So in the next 45 minutes, we will explore the future or the emerging trajectory of AI in the BFSI sector, say in the coming decade, and how to overcome the challenges and the concerns that are being talked about. I open the floor to all the panelists here and give them about a minute's time to put across their perspective on this, including on how they are coping with the likely risks and challenges that AI may present going forward. Thank you very much. So can we begin with you, Mr. Anil?
Yeah, thank you, Anupam, and thanks, Sito, for inviting on this panel. It's my pleasure to be part of this and represent. So I come from a exchange and clearing and settlement business domain areas where we service the customers. So for us, AI in a regulated and in a more governance model, if can be implemented, which can make AI trustworthy and people can basically make use of it. And that's the perspective I come back. While AI, as it's keep on enhancing its scale, it comes with lots of data which we feed, whether good, bad, but then ultimately what results is a trust. If we don't trust, then whole model will go on toss. So for us, it's governance, the ethical nature of the data and the model which it can give outcomes.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me. I think we come from the financial services background, so Varma is into financial services, wealth management, etc. The perspective with which we approach AI is generally focused on efficiency first. We are trying to get our toes wet to understand what can be done in a safe and controlled manner. Like Anil was also mentioning, right now the stage is not fully set where we are open to exposing it to all of our customers and just letting it run free. We believe that AI will be a great enabler for all of our in-house resources to get more efficient, to get more productive. And depending and considering how ubiquitous it's become, where end consumers are expecting certain kinds of services from us, it's just a matter of time till the product improves, till the safety improves, till it becomes like a utility service rather than, you know, the breakthrough innovation it feels like it is right now. So we believe that over time, as we get more comfortable, as regulators get comfortable, as the overall industry and customers get more comfortable, we will find a path. But yeah, right now, because of it being early days, we are not pushing on it very aggressively at this point in time. Yeah.
Thank you and welcome everyone. I represent Nippon and we are from asset management industry. For us, I think it's important, there are three important pillars rather when we explore AI. One is the customer experience. What best can we deliver to a customer using the data that we have without breaching any of the protocols, safety protocols. Secondly, from an operations standpoint, how better we can utilize the artificial intelligence and AI to gain a level of efficiency that would really kind of be far more than what we are doing currently. Third, and not the least, is how we can leverage AI specifically from a cybersecurity standpoint, because I think for us, every investor is important, all the data related to that investor is important. So, and of course, the amount of sophistication the threat actors today have, and they are leveraging AI. How do we counter that attack by using AI for a better purpose? So I think these are the three important pillars that we certainly kind of focus on. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. So I'm part of Couchbase. Just to give you an introduction, we are a NoSQL distributed database, and thank you. I'm glad to be a part of this conversation. Well, with Couchbase, we work with many banks and financial institutes, and we're working on their modernization journey, their AI transformation journey. Now, banks are really facing some of the real challenges today, right? So we talk about legacy infrastructure, slow app performances. We're talking about disconnected customer data, and there is a rising cost of supporting the systems at scale, right? Now, today, what a customer really expects is a digital-first experience, a seamless experience, right? And usually these infrastructures are not, or the core systems are not built, for it. And from a strategy point of view, banks are really looking at or rethinking on their data strategy and on how they can actually, make real-time decision-making possible. It could be for loan processing, chatbots, agentic AI. There's a whole lot of conversation that's happening around there. And internally within banks, we're seeing, they're working on, kind of automating a lot of repetitive tasks, improving operational efficiency, reducing a lot of manual errors. But the fundamental is that, how do they do that? And for that, they need a modern data platform, which is actually ready and built for, AI-driven initiatives. Now, as from the customer side, we need better insights. Of course, better experience, faster experience. So this is where Couchbase actually bridges the gap, where as a database, sure, sure.
Yeah, sure. Good morning, everyone. Very happy to be here. So I represent FIDC, which is Finance Industry Development Council. It's actually an association or an industry body for non-bank finance companies and HFCs. So we are basically the bridge between the regulators on one side, including, say, the ministry and the government, and on the other side, the entire industry sector. And when it is the industry sector, it's not just the companies, it's also the customers and every ecosystem around it. See, the transformation that AI brings about is something that I think most of us have seen over the last couple of years happening, right? I mean, for example, when ChatGPT was launched and now it's probably at its ChatGPT 4 or 5, and after that we've had so many other similar applications coming out. So transformation is inevitable, but I think what we should be looking at, and that's where the next couple of years would be spent or invested in, would be transformation in a responsible manner. More to ensure that the regulators and customers are assured that the data privacy and sensitive information is preserved and protected. So what I would be keen to explore, and also coming from an industry body, is how AI can help us use the data that is currently being trained in a very responsible, ethical manner, such that it enhances confidence of the end users, whoever it is. There are multiple end users, so that's what I'm looking for. Not just to be smart, but to be more in terms of ethical use.
Thank you. Hi, Tarun Mathur here. I'm with Zuno General Insurance. Great to be here. Very, very pertinent topic, and most of the panelists have covered a lot of interesting points. While AI has existed for a long time, but it obviously has risen to prominence in the last couple of years when we had the ChatGPTs and the other generative AI models come up. Undoubtedly, they have really high potential for transformational efficiency of several orders of magnitude. And we're already seeing them really rewire the very foundations of a lot of industry and various functions. I feel, as some of my panelists here highlighted, that it has to be approached optimistically, but cautiously, because we need strategic clarity, and without it, we might end up depleting our resources. So, and I'm sure going forward, we'll discuss the importance of how governance and explainability, etc., are important. But yes, tremendous potential for this technology, and yeah, look forward to the ongoing debate.
Thank you all the panelists for the first round. I now address my question to the panelists sitting on my right side, that is Anil, Rohit, and Abhijit. My question is, I would request you to, illustrate some specific test and use cases on which are the critical business domain areas and which are the frontline technology surrounding AI, which can bring about, transformative change in terms of seamless integration across the processes and systems, and deliver efficiency, customer ease, and at the same time sustainability and security in the next, say, 3 to 5 years, coming years, and how to develop upon them so that it becomes a more efficient system overall, which is for the good of the customers who are at the core of the entire financial services sector. Thank you. 1.5 minutes each, please.
I'll not take much. Just to say that if you look for a horizon of the next 3 to 5 years, so AI is not just remains a tool. It's will eventually become a core enabler in your core strategic as a differentiator in your whatever domains and BFSI segments we work. And to me, it's going to unfold in multi-dimensional layers across every segment and everywhere. Okay, talking about just my experience in terms of the deployments or the efficiencies going to bring up is the area which we personally working on the fraud risk management area, detections, trying to understand if there is any abnormalities observed in the trading patterns and all, which can be identified, and proactive measures can be done. The second area, we as a organization also look at the cybersecurity space, where we see that the data leakages and things like that can be avoided. We can be more look at the system which is more cyber resilient in our environment, so that we can bring some trust to the customer in terms of their data protections, and they can work with us in a more trustworthy system and platforms. They can able to trade with us. So that's what we look, and from the other area, like a customer experience perspective, I see that it definitely going to enable us in terms of servicing our customer, understanding their needs, and try to understand their insights based on the various data patterns we can collect, and then serve them in much more better fashion in terms of not just as a reactive but more as a proactive, as a business companions to our end customers.
Technologies, frontier technologies which are going to make a massive change in the coming years.
So since we are looking at a period of about 3 to 5 years, it will be something which is, you can say, semi-adopted at this point in time, which will then become completely baseline in the 3 to 5 year period. So like a lot of people would have already spoken about agentic, but now we are also seeing that MCP has come along. That is also becoming quite interesting in the open source space, because we are seeing a lot of MCP services that are spawned off, which allows agentic AI to interact with the various services which are tools which it may need in order to perform certain tasks. I think that is going to be a big space for a lot of people in the BFSI sector, simply because a lot of our services tend to be siloed within our core systems. So whether it is core banking or it is on the settlement side, clearing settlement side. So being able to expose that as services for other agentic use cases to use will be the next interesting frontier, according to me. We have seen signs of that basically coming in the API space. So you would have heard of open banking, etc. And that similar trend can be expected in the MCP space. And it becomes even more interesting because currently MCP is wild, wild west. Like, nobody knows what is there in the underlying situation. Like, are there consents being taken? Is your data going to get used without, let's say, your knowledge? But when industry participants start hosting MCP services, these tend to be a lot more secure, a lot more controlled, a lot more trustworthy. So I believe that will be a very big space and a very big game changer for us in the long run. We also feel that on the customer service side, we have observed that even for something as simple as call analytics and call tracking, we are getting some interesting use cases where instead of, let's say, directly moving it to an agent answering the call, an automated agent answering the call, it is more to understand whether our human agents are able to perform at the level required. So being able to both transcribe the call, understand the emotions that are there, understand whether the customer's query is getting answered first time right. These are all things that we are able to now solve for, because previously it used to be just transcription and then checking if certain keywords are being handled. Now I believe that is something that will be a game changer in the near term itself.
Yeah, thanks. So I think from AMC, or rather asset management standpoint, we have been exploring specifically with regards to segmenting our customers, understanding their behavior. And for us, the segmentation has multiple dimensions. I mean, one is based on the risk appetite, one is based on the recency of the transactions that he would have done. There are multiple ways in which he has behaved in stress situations of the market. I mean, all those data points, I mean, help us rather to kind of put right segments in place. And then with these segments, we are able to kind of understand the behavior and interact with the customer in the more rightful manner. It's a more kind of a guided discussion or pointed discussion with the customer, rather than we talking about other things or rather irrelevant things with him. That is one from a customer experience perspective. And also we are able to understand if he is happy with us, not happy with us, I mean, from an experience standpoint. Second is from the investment team, where we we are looking at opportunities where we leverage agentic AI. From the research standpoint, there are huge set of documents that are being crunched, churned out by the teams. It takes a lot of time. Now, if with the use of these platforms, if we are able to summarize these documents, so instead of 10 documents per day, the platform is able to generate, say, 100 documents per day. So these are the use cases certainly will make sense, I mean, from an investment standpoint. Now, how does that make sense when it comes to the accuracy of the response that we get from the platform? What kind of hallucination that it produces? So, I mean, there are ways where we are able to kind of ring fence the entire of this platform and not allowing this platform to go outside, rather dictating the source of information right in the organization, which eliminates all the chances of hallucination. So I think that's where the journey is headed from our side.
Very well. Thank you, one of you. So, Anuj, do you align your views with what has just been said by the three members, or you think the risks and the challenges outweigh the opportunities and the advantages that AI brings, and how these two aspects can be balanced going forward?
Sure, thank you. Thanks, Anupam. So I completely align and agree, to the AI vision actually shared, right? So obviously hyper-personalization, intelligent data systems, seamless journeys for customers, agentic AI. But I also believe, for this to happen, and practically to happen with any of the financial services institute, it is important that we understand the underground, data strategy and, obviously the underlying infrastructure readiness, for these. Now, many of the risks that we see, as you rightly mentioned, sir, around hallucination, data bias, non-regulatory compliance data, etc., right? They basically don't come from the AI models, right? It's primarily, as you rightly said, it comes from, how the data is stored. It's siloed. There is a delayed data, inaccuracy, etc., right? And that's where AI is only as powerful as you make it, right? As the data platform that you build it. And I'll take an example, right? And from a Couchbase perspective, we power one of the largest fraud and risk management platform called FICO Falcon, right? And as the way it works, fraud and risk management platforms, they need to instantaneously access data that is actually sitting in different systems. It could be geographically differently placed, right? So it is important that there is no form of delayed data that's coming in, because that will lead to a missed threat, right? And over the decade is what I see that an AI-ready infrastructure is what we actually need, and that's why Couchbase really helps. I'll make it really short, but of course, as a platform, we'd love to be on both sides of the world, which is SQL as well as NoSQL, and then, of course, a lot of capabilities what the relational databases don't really provide. So that's a bit of my thoughts around.
I do agree with Anuj. Actually, it has already been said that AI will be as usual, as useful or as malicious as the man tends to make it in future. Priya, now data, as we know, is at the core of all AI systems, including the algorithmic models. And the data is so diverse in different forms. So what are your suggestions on, data management, which will support the goodness in the artificial intelligence systems? And now with the increasing oversight on the data privacy and data protection aspects with the GDPR Act and the Indian DPDP Act which have come in, what are your suggestions in this regard, and what are your thoughts on the matter?
Sure. See, privacy is something that is very personal to all of us, right? I mean, we've seen recently the photos, being, what was that? Tibli, the Tibli app, what was that, right? Something like that. So, from an individual perspective, I think when we look at AI and the encroaching of our privacy, I think what comes to my mind is that when my data is being, shared for, of course, my use, right? Whether it is in the banking space, whether it is, say, with the airport authorities, or any other such government service, privacy needs to be taken very seriously. It can't be a check in the box. And that is something that confidence around that is still something that I think all of us lose, right? I mean, we've obviously seen so many instructions about Aadhaar that the government has given, but how many organizations are actually meeting those instructions in terms of redacting the data is a big question mark still. So a couple of points that I had noted on, privacy-related aspect is that AI should be very focused on ensuring that the data that it uses is protected and is treated very sensitively. There are clear consent frameworks that are built in while using the data. And I genuinely feel that human review is something that you cannot avoid in some cases, especially given that we've seen that the way the data is trained, there could be biases that seep in as well, right? So customer fairness is very important. The AI tools should be governance ready in terms of ability to, have an audit trail, have traceability. It can't be a black box where data is going in, some analysis is happening, and an outcome is coming out of it, right? So all of these aspects need to be kept in mind when we are sharing the data across to these AI-enabled systems for processing.
Thank you, Priya. Tarun, now regulation is still lagging the AI development. So in the current scenario, how are the financial entities dealing with the uncertainty? And what areas or the risks you would expect as an industry to the regulator to focus on so that it can provide the required support on one hand and also the futuristic direction to the markets?
No, you're right, Anupam. I think while I would say now that transition is starting to happen where from lagging to really shaping the frontier, regulation is really trying to move in that direction. But yes, there is, first, there is a lot of patchiness which exists. Then there is obviously a lag because especially private industry innovation outpaces, these governance and controls from the regulator. And but nonetheless, I think globally, different countries, different geographies, including our country, are taking steps to understand the foresee industries face is, as governance strengthens or the need for governance strengthens, they will have to really build, embed governance from the beginning. When we say privacy, it has to be privacy by design when you're building, solution. You really would have to build consent flows at a very granular level, right? And slowly, as regulators also understand the need and importance and how these technologies are working, they would really push us to have more ethical frameworks embedded. They'll push us for far more, I would say, audit trail and traceability requirements, as Priya also mentioned. So all these things will be, really, I would say, asked for, of the enterprises. Enterprises, on the other hand, will have to have real strategic flexibility. So that's how I see. But yeah.
So sorry, Anupam, if I could just add, I think regulators in particular are acting very strongly on this aspect, right? Because clearly there is no doubt in anyone's mind that AI will not be, AI is the next revolution, right? We've had so many other revolutions around. So the way I see it is that, from a regulator's perspective, what could be something that they would focus on is making sure that, high-risk models are very well evaluated. There is a safe zone that they would provide for experimentation in particular, right? Because that's where I think particularly, my regulator being Reserve Bank of India, they've created this whole RBIH, which is the innovation hub, where they actually allow, technology experts to come and present their prototype and give them a safe space to experiment, invite industry players also to come and share their use cases. So those are the elements that are any which ways happening right now from a shaping the AI usage perspective.
Yeah, that was the question which was closest to my heart, having been a regulator for such a long time. And in addition to the RBI Innovation Hub, we also have the RBI Sandbox, Innovation Sandbox, which is now RBI has come up with the MuleHunter.ai and so many other integrated programs in addition to that. So far so good, and a big round of applause for the panelists and their views so far. Moving forward, we see the huge amounts of investments going into development of AI infrastructure and AI innovations. In fact, JP Morgan alone has announced a $15 billion investment in AI development. However, in India, legacy systems still constrain the journey ahead. So what would you suggest for the financial entities and the markets, how they can, what are the possibilities to scale up the existing infrastructure? Are there any alternatives to the capex heavy models that are being pursued elsewhere? And what would be your guidance on the road ahead to the especially the smaller entities which may not have that kind of bandwidth for investments?
Sure, thank you for that question. So I think it's a long debate when we talk about legacy, because everybody's living on legacy today, right? And so banking has definitely evolved, but the future seems to be very different as we move forward. And as the earlier keynote speakers, they did specifically mention single source of truth, data being fragmented across different systems. That's one of the core challenges that I see is there in most of the enterprises rather, and not just banking or financial services. And one of the interviews that I was actually listening to from one of the technology leaders, is that the digital distribution is not done right. It is across different systems. So even the most simple transaction of maybe a credit card will go to a different system and a debit card will go to a different system. Why can't we really have a common KYC setup where we don't need to go through, back and forth every time, submitting our documents again? Life would be much simpler, with just our name and identity in place. So we understand that banks have a monolithic architecture, and they live on a lot of active-passive kind of architectures, and they've invested heavily into these platforms in their careers, and they agree to the fact that rather they were looking at simplifying the architecture, they've made it all the more complex, right, as they move forward. So as Couchbase, I'll try to take a slight approach, and I'll make it very short, very short, yes. So, so as Couchbase, we look at not just looking at rip and replacing, the core systems. It doesn't make sense. It's not possible as well as of today, right? So we look at two approaches. Of course, when we look at two approaches, first is re-platform and modernize, and we have examples like Amadeus, the passenger reservation system. They were on relational systems. They were using multiple data services to make it more effective. We changed them from the core, right? And they currently, the ephemeral as well as the persistent actually works on Couchbase. The other is just simply modernize, right? That's a simple and a more easier effort to make, where we modernize what you already have, kind of transform the data where you sitting in relational, get it into a database where it's more agile, flexible, scalable, and you're able to do a lot many other things, And one of the biggest challenges I really want to highlight, and maybe I want to close the note on that as well, is the UPI volume and the transaction volumes on the credit cards have enormously increased. And it's not easy for any bank to actually, looking at the rising cost of scale and, managing that volume is not easy. Earlier, a few years back, it used to be 80 to 100 TPS. Today, we're talking about 1800 to 2200 TPS, right? Extremely short. So from a strategy perspective, I feel, we should look at modernizing it, and there is a phase-wise approach that we should look at.
Options and multimodal
Absolutely.
When we look at and things like that.
Exactly. When we look at modernizing it, cloud-native, distributed scale, having all the capabilities around full text, vector, which leads to all your AI models, etc. That makes a lot of sense.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Abhijit, please, this round has 60 seconds for each one of you. I'm sorry about that. AI is not a subject which can be summed up in such a short time, but that is the time which we have available on our hands. Now, human angle in AI is one of the very critical factors, and recently we have seen large layoffs, TCS being one of the most recent examples. Then there are various overseas companies which are developing thousands of AI employees, as they call them, or agents, which are going to not only handle the front end and the back end tasks, but also will be ready to make strategic decisions. So how do you think, can the human intelligence be allowed to be overtaken by AI? Or, it should be complemented and where required, overruled by humans? How do you see the future of human intelligence in BFSI sector going forward, and to what effect?
So I think this is not a question actually. This is a fear in everyone's mind.
Yeah, it's very scary.
So everyone has that. Am I going to be taken over by some machine at some point? But I mean, if you look at it, I mean, if I want to dissect it very systemically, what is the core competence of an AI? I mean, it can crunch the data maybe faster than a human brain can do. It can crunch data in volumes. It can correlate data more than, and rather 100 times more than what a human brain can do at any point in time.
The question is how the two can be balanced and
I'm
complement
coming
each
to
other.
that. So one is the core competence of AI. Second is what is the core competence of a human being? I mean, human brain, natural intelligence. Rather. We never talk of NI, which is going to be prominent. But the thing is, we have ability from emotional quotient perspective. We have ability, as humans, we have ability to deal with more complex problems, which a machine which is trained on certain data might not have kind of really looked at. So I think with this, there has to be a balance. I mean, of course, human has created the agentic AI, but I think there has to be a balance between, and there is a role for each human being. Of course, we have to be, the humans need to be kind of aligned to the technology. The more they're aligned, the more they learn how to use it, then there is a balance. If you don't get aligned with that technology itself, then probably you are out of the race. I mean, as you said.
Individual entities and at the system level, care is being taken right from the now to ensure that this balance exists going
No.
forward.
I think you rightly asked this question, but I think right now it's more to do with how, it's more coming from a cost efficiency perspective. How can I cut my cost? And if AI is making me capable to reduce the employee's bench, people are going for that. I mean, there's no empathy that is there at this point in time vis-a-vis when it comes to the cost efficiency. So, but yes, I mean, I was looking at, sorry, I might take another 15 seconds, but there was a recent research done by MIT. Some of you would have seen on LinkedIn also it got published. People who are using GPT versus people who are not using GPT. And then they analyzed the capability of the brains, both the brains. It was found that 88% of the brain functioning is kind of dumbed for the people who are using GPT. They can't write new messages, they can't think, they can't be innovative. But on the other side, the people who are not using, they are extremely creative. I mean, as regular as people
so
are.
ChatGPT is by rote, I would say. They can only produce what has been fed in earlier in some form or somewhere.
Yes.
And human creativity is unbound and unlimited, and that is why we are the creators of AI.
But if you don't use it,
That is
it's going to
correct.
make you dumb, right?
So now next question is to Tarun. Tarun, 1 minute, please.
Sure.
And agentic AI have been already spoken in the earlier sessions and also explained. So it is about cognition, it is about being able to learn, adapt, understand, and make a decision. Again, the question arises, how much of leeway should we allow to the agentic AI in our systems, in our processes, in our governance, decision making, and how to balance it so as to ensure that there is the elements of essential ethics remain, responsibility remains, and the customer is prioritized as is the mandate for the financial services.
Yeah. Absolutely. And as Abhijit was speaking, I had a thought that I would also prefer a future which is AI plus human and not just AI alone. But to retain the essence of human intelligence and capability, I think what will be important is to have human in the loop, especially for new, novel, or edge cases. Human judgment is irreplaceable when it comes to contextual ethical dilemmas. So I think that's when we should retain human in the loop to ensure, uh, that we don't give that autonomy to, yeah.
Example, an
Absolutely.
illustration.
So while we are building these solutions, most of we are getting awed by what a black box is churning out. But without proper auditability or explainability, it will get very difficult, and whether it will dumb us down or not, but it will surely make us very reliant or over reliant on it, which is not the right thing. So I would suggest that we have to have strong governance layers, and rather I call them have governance in a very tired architecture, right from ethics committee to people who are managing it, to people who are managing the model, to people who are actually validating this, or ensuring the fairness of data, all of this. So it can't be the job of one person or one department. As AI is coming to our enterprises, it has to be looked upon by a multi-layered architecture of governance to ensure that we use it as a efficiency tool rather than allowing us to take over our mental abilities.
Thank you, Tarun. So this leads me very seamlessly to my next question to Rohit, which was on AI governance and assurance function, which includes risk management, compliance, and internal audit. So can you give some examples of how AI governance and assurance is actually being taken care of in the journey of development of AI innovations and application of AI innovations in the financial entities, and also if you would like to give some examples from the wider market at the system level.
So the thing that I have observed right now is that governance is in very early stages, at least in our sector. It's more like people are looking at AI governance more in line with cybersecurity policy rather than AI per se. So when we were approached to create the governance framework, and we are in the process of doing so at Nuama, the initial conversation stems from what you would write for open source software. That seems to be the understanding that people have of what AI governance entails. So I think fundamentally we also are spending time trying to articulate what should be covered under governance and what shouldn't be, because if you look at it, a lot of the concerns that people have around things like whether it is ethics, whether it is bias, it seems to stem from the LLM models that are getting created. But when it comes to actual use cases which are built at industry level, a lot of these may not be very relevant because we tend to use them from some kind of a goal perspective. We are saying, okay, identify if the sentiment is positive, negative, identify if a customer is about to leave me or not leave me. So in such use cases, the problems of bias, ethics and all are a bit lower. So what we tend to focus on more when it comes to governance will be around things like, okay, is this model open source? Can I go and see what has been used in weights and biases? So that in case something goes wrong, I will be able to get some explanation rather than it being a true black box. Second, it could be around things like, okay, if I have set up certain guardrails, how easy or difficult is it for me to break past that? Because it depends on the LLM rather than me. Yeah, I think we are done. But yeah. So the idea on governance right now is that as somebody who is implementing AI, I'm also responsible for setting up what people need to think about when it comes to AI. And so we are in such early days that it's very difficult for me to say whether there's a one-size-fits-all answer for the industry also as a whole. We are largely focused on, okay, what are the models like? Where are we sourcing them from? Is it easy or difficult for me to explain what the model is doing? Third is, what is our data strategy like? Are we sourcing consent? Are we having that recorded? Are we telling the users that I might use this data or not? These are the kind of things that we are primarily focused on right now.
Do we have time for audience interaction?
No, we do not,
No.
unfortunately.
Okay, anyway, some of the aspects like cybersecurity, digital frauds have been spoken about, so there's no need for asking specific questions on those. What I can sum up is that AI needs to be an integrated system which takes information from all verticals of a business rather than being developed in silos for proper understanding and proper care for the customer. Human angle or human element in the loop is extremely important. Regulation and governance will be able to guide AI on the right path. And last but not the least, customer protection and customer safety remains non-negotiable. So that is all from our side. Stay safe and keep your customers safe. That is our final message to all of you. Thank you very much.
Anupam, thank you so much for that. Thank you. Tarun, would you want to say something?
No, I just wanted to thank the wonderful audience, wonderful panelists. Thank you.
No, we need to thank you. Thank you so much for being on this panel discussion with us. And thank you, Anupam, for moderating the whole discussion. May I request you to kindly come together for a quick photo op as well. And ladies and gentlemen, can we please give it up for our wonderful moderator and to our panelists